pockets then.
How old my babies? My life has been intertwined in Christian consciousness, even though I really didn't plan it that way. I think vegetarianism took me in that direction. In medical school in Gainesville in the 60s, I was a vegetarian. Sought out people that were, and I began to take an interest in the devotees.
Stop.
They had a very small building at that time. It was not,
The other one.
I always wanted to drop the mic. Anyway, I used to visit on Sundays at the temple, and they were very poor. A lot of times they would just have popcorn and that sort of thing. And I got to know a few devotees, and we'd go around and do some dumpster diving in my van.
I get a hold of it, okay?
And I began to work with them medically and so forth. So I went from there to my internship in New Orleans. After I finished it, I was headed up north to go into psychiatry in Syracuse. And we found out that Prabhupada was coming to New Vrindaban. I had never been here, so I planned my trip on coming through here, not knowing anything about it. So on arrival, Vrindaban was just about all there was, but there were just tons of people there. It was very festive, and I did get to see Prabhupada twice. I got to sit very close to him and listen to him speak. It was a wonderful thing. After he spoke and we had a big prasadam and everything, we were all standing down in the parking lot. And there we go. And while we were there, I looked to my left and I see this horse with a rider on it, with no shirt on, with the Brahmin threads coming down the hill, looking a little frantic. And I'm like, wow, that's a weird scene. But there were a lot of weird scenes that I saw, including well, I won't go into that. But anyway, this guy I had never met, and he was frantic, and I said, what's going on here? And he said, my wife's having a baby, and is there anybody here that knows how to deliver babies or that can help out? And I had just left Tulane University, and I had a lot of medical equipment with me that I decided to take along with me on my voyage. And I said, yeah, I'm a doctor, I'll help. And they said, is there any other doctors in the community, anybody else here? And there was another doctor that I didn't even get his name. He was riding a motorcycle. He was about to leave, and he said, I'll help out. So one of the devotees took us up in a Jeep up to Old Vrindaban. It was quite a ride going up that road, I'll tell you. I'd never been in the hills and mountains. I was from the flatlands of Florida, so the whole thing was an adventure. And we got up there, and sure enough, this lady was in labor, and it was Adi Petit's wife. This other doctor and I, we got together and made our plan out of how we're going to deliver, who was going to be the pediatrician, who was going to handle the baby, who was going to do the delivery. We worked it out real well, and a beautiful baby boy came out. So, and it was on John Marston, and it was like they were all fasting up until that point, and I think it was right at the end of the breaking of the fast that he was born. So it was a joyous occasion, and I got to take one of the few hot showers that they had up in old Vrindaban the next morning, and took one of the most beautiful walks I've ever taken, walking back from Vrindaban farm back to Vrindaban. It was just an incredible adventure. And I went my way, never thinking I would be back, but the next adventure starts in the 70s when I came back for good. But Amidar has worked very diligently on a presentation here of what she did in the clinic and what we did. I'm extremely proud of our OB clinic and how we organized it and how we followed the mothers and never had a fatality. And it was just a love fest.
My name is Abidar. I graduated from a 2-year school of nursing up in Ulster County in the Catskills in New York in 1972. While I was doing the obstetric part of it, I had an Irish midwife, and she said, if anyone's interested in going into the art of midwifery, you could just have a 2-year course then, and then there was a 6-year course you could take in Andover, Kentucky, Frontier School of Nurse Midwifery, and you would have been grandfathered in as being a certified nurse midwife, which I am not. I am what they call a lay midwife. A lay midwife can be anybody. Sometimes it's a nurse, sometimes it's somebody like Mother Pariah or Mother Vidya. I can't say enough about these two. They were the ones that did all. Well, once the one woman took over it, the early births were attended by men, and I'll tell you a little story about Preeta, but you know, the bravery of having no equipment, no medical transport, no anything. Nothing to even cut the umbilical cord with. They had sterilized shoestrings, I think you did. Anyway, this is happy today. So I came to brief encounters. When I was reading Advaita Prabhu's stories about his brief encounters in New York City, that's where I met my first devotees. They said, here's the Prachadam. I probably would have taken it if it looked like a nice milk sweet, but it kind of looked it must have been granola or something. And I'm like, oh, it looks like dog food, let me out here. That was the end. And then I grew up in Woodstock, New York, and I was a waitress, and you know, they would come through there because there were a lot of hippies, and it was a good place to recruit, probably. A lot of crazy hippies. So I saw them in their robes, and I'm like, wow, those people are really crazy. And then I never saw them again. My first husband, Prashada, had got me, we were living up in New Hampshire, my first husband had got me a subscription to Back to Godhead magazine, which was, I was like, whoa, this is so wonderful, and just everything appealed to me. It sounded like a wonderful place to go. We got pregnant with our first child, this is back in 1973. There were no home births or anything, and we actually, for me, the big thing was just to have my husband in my hospital delivery room, and we had to cross to a different state because the hospital that we were at in Keene, New Hampshire, which is a pretty good college town, did not let Dad in the delivery room. Whoa. I mean, but, you know, just that was their rule. So we went over there and had our first child. I didn't know until later, it was quite a brutal birth, and later when I started working with Nick, I found out that in the early 70s, all what they call prima gravidas, which is your first baby, were delivered by elective lobe forceps. Women may know what forceps are. Forceps are kind of like salad tongs. They're in 2 pieces. They're curved to fit the shape of the baby's head, one on one side, one on the other. And then they lock together, and then the doctor pulls. All babies, I mean, probably 95% of babies were born then. Anyway.
At the University of Florida, there was a rule.
Everybody had to.
Everyone was delivered with the ELF.
But when I was in my nursing program, so my extent of nursing education was they don't teach you how to deliver babies when you're a nurse, unless you go on to advanced practice. You take blood pressure, you do what the doctor says. In those days, you didn't even talk to the patient about what the doctor said. Everything, it was just different. Nurses were nurses. And then if you wanted to do something different, like a nurse practitioner, you know, you went on to advanced practice. But I heard about that 6-month course and I was like, wow, that's great. I can make a lot of money just going to school for 2.5 years. It was all fun and games until I saw my first delivery. They called about 8 of us student nurses in and it was the forceps delivery and I was like, this is so barbaric. I was like, my God, I am never gonna, I'm not only gonna not be an OB nurse, I'm not gonna have kids. And here I am 6 kids later. So anyway, I came here in 1972 with my first husband. We had a Volkswagen van, and I was reading an old Bridge Bossy Spirit that Grinder had, and it turned out our van made it into Bridge Bossy because Tapapunj Maharaj and Taru Maharaj took it to Columbus on a Sankirtanic expedition, and we told them it was low on oil, but they didn't check, and they looked at it, they said, that was the end of our vehicle. Krishna's Mercy Prabhu. They left it in Columbus. So we're kind of stuck here. We thought we were going down to the farm in Tennessee to Stephen Gassman's farm. That's where I thought we were going. So I was here for a few months, and I didn't do any deliveries. Mother Farina and Mother Vidya did everything. I wasn't anxious to do the deliveries because I knew I did not know anything about that. And I respected them. I thought they were a little crazy for doing it because it was so scary. You're talking about births, and nobody, the barn now is probably fixed up since they fixed it up to honor your husband, but in those days it was like 12 families on one side, 12 families on the other side. That's it, no water, no bathroom. You had to go, well, when I first came, you had to go downstairs and up the hill to an outhouse to go to the bathroom, and then they did have a bathroom in the bottom, but there was, basically these women were giving birth in this huge place, one little room with no running water. Finally, there was a sink at the end of the hall, a cold water sink that everybody used, that like 50 people use. You know, not a nice place to have a baby, but they did it, and there was a lot of babies born there. My first delivery, the mom has asked me not to reveal any details. I'll just say it was a disaster. The delivery went fine. We ended up transporting the mom for some very serious complications. She almost died on the way to the hospital. She had a condition that could not have been known until after the baby was born. It was like 1 in 500,000. It's just crazy, but it happened to her. And she had to have surgery to complete the birth. The baby was born, the baby was fine, but it was some other stuff. And after that, I was like, oh, this is Krishna's. I am not made to do this. This is #1 birth, you know. The mom almost, I mean, literally, I was in the back of a Volkswagen bug holding her head. I had no IV fluids, no medications, nothing. I just, oh God, don't die, don't die. And I was just chanting, don't die, and holding her face, who was getting whiter and whiter and less pink and then to gray, and then, I mean, I almost lost her. I'm like, that's it. And I thought that I hadn't done another birth until Dr. Nick came, but Mother Krishna Baba reminded me that I did attempt, and I kind of bungled her first child's birth by not knowing what to do. But anyway, safely, thank goodness Brian did come in and save the day. So and then we did not deliver another baby until either late 1978 or early 1979. Srila Prabhupada decided that we needed to have a clinic in the community. And the first doctor before Nick was a very part-time doctor. It was Dr. David Nally, who still works in the Glendale Professional Building in Glendale. We paid him $75 an hour to come out, and he helped me set up a clinic in what is now Sankirtan Prabhu and Mother Ruchi's house. That was the first clinic. It was really nice because there was running water, there were 2 bathrooms, you know, it was really nice. And he set up, we had a microscope and a few things, but we really didn't do too much, and we did no baby deliveries, because he was just here to do first aid and earaches and that kind of stuff. Then Nick came in 79, before the palace was open or after? When? Before. So late summer of 79. And then we started working together. Our very first, so here's both of us in 1972. And you can see I was not dressed to be delivering babies. So here's one of this is Mother Krishna Baba's first baby. All these babies, pictures that we're going to show you at first, are babies that were born before we started doing it. I'm not going to go through my books and say, but basically it was Prine and Vidya did most of these births. Oh yes, Indra. But this baby was born in the barn, 1978. This is Mother Katila. This is the earliest, when I asked her for a baby picture of Mother Prita, she said, this is the earliest baby picture I have. Nobody had cameras then. And if they did, they didn't have money to get them out. So this almost looks like outside the courthouse. Because there's another picture like that too. But here she is, Preeta was her firstborn, and Brenda was her second baby. And they were both born before we started doing it. I was hoping that Mother Grinder was here just to kind of fill in some of the births that happened at the old Vrindaban farm, because some of the women lived here but chose to go to other places like to New York City or to Wheeling to have their babies. So there were some babies born. One of the ones is Preeta and Katila. And I was kind of surprised when I first started going through this. I hadn't heard Katila for about 30 years, that most of the very early births were done by men, because there just weren't any women around most of the time, and if there were. But what Mother Katila shared with me, Preeta was born 1374 in a trailer by the old schoolhouse, which I think that schoolhouse is still there. And she said, Kaladri was there, Dulal Chandra was there, and Adipati was there. There were no mention of any women. And then she said even Radhakanta was there. And she said, I think he saw way more than he wanted to. I'd never met these people. And I'm not sure who actually delivered, but she said everybody was either there helping or being there. Her second baby, Brenda, was born in her room in the barn. Mother Parina called her. Interesting thing about this birth, and people that didn't live here will find it very hard to believe. The same day that she delivered this baby, Bhaktipad called her, and it was a Kadashi, and said, you need to go to the pits and make the tapioca for the devotees' afternoon prasadam. Because if anybody remembers, tapioca prasadam on Ekadashi was not always good, and if you didn't do it right, you burnt it. and so she got up on the same day that she gave birth. What she told, I was like,